Ugh! What is this hideous place?
My home.
We're in the Isle of the Lost?
Have you ever wondered why the other villain kids don't appear in the Descendants movies? There are plenty more of them in the novels and the animated TV series after all. We're revealing the real reason why these VKs didn't make the cut. Keep watching to the end to discover which of your favorite main characters might have a secret twin.
Did you think I was gone forever?
First up, let's meet the 3 new VKs coming our way in Descendants 3, and their siblings who aren't appearing in the movie. Sammy, Smee. In the new film, we're going to meet twins Squeaky and Squirmy. They're the sons of Mr. Smee, Captain Hook's first mate in Peter Pan. We don't know too much about what his twin boys will do in the movie, but we do know that Squeaky is played by Christian Convery, and Squirmy is portrayed by Luke Rosler. And we do know that they actually have another brother, Sammy, who is mentioned in the Isle of the Lost prequel novel by Melissa de la Cruz. But it seems like he hasn't made the cut for the movie. The question is, why not? Well, he's only mentioned briefly in the novel as a guest at Mal's Hellraiser party. Perhaps the filmmakers decided they've got enough of a pirate crew, and maybe there's something important about the twins in this third movie. Keep watching to hear some more exciting theories about that later on. Celia Facilier is the other new VK confirmed to be in the third movie. She is the daughter of Dr. Facilier, the villain in The Princess and the Frog. Like Squeaky and Squirmy, Celia also has a sibling in the Descendants world that didn't make the cut for the movies, and that's Freddy. Freddie Facilier. Anyone who's watched the animated shorts in Disney Channel's Descendants Wicked World TV series will know about Freddie Facilier. The show premiered 2 months after the first movie came out. Freddie has the same fashion sense as her sister and father with her cute little top hat. She spends a lot of time in her dad's shop where he practices magical arts. Freddie is a dab hand at voodoo magic and casting spells. She's also a mischief maker and a slick talker who sneaks into Auradon. After maintaining her villainous ways to begin with, Freddie decides to try being good instead. Freddie also appears in Melissa de la Cruz's novel, Return to the Isle of the Lost. This novel was published between the first 2 movies. She has a key role in the plot, delivering anonymous messages to Mal, Evie, Jay, and Carlos. It's thanks to these messages that the 4 VKs return to the Isle to see Yen Sid and his anti-heroes club. Freddie also has her own chapter book in the School of Secrets book series. Her book was published between the first 2 movies, called Freddy's Shadow Cards. It's all about how she uses her dark magic to get her own way. That's because her dreams of joining the a cappella group at Auradon Prep fall apart. The question is, why doesn't Freddie appear in the Descendants movies? We reckon it's precisely because she's had such a part to play in the other media. Perhaps the filmmakers wanted a fresh start and a Facilier VK that didn't have any baggage. With Celia, they can do whatever they want.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
CJ and Harriet Hook. Like Freddy, CJ Hook is another VK that's appeared in the Wicked World TV animation and her own chapter book, but not in the movies. CJ, which is short for Callista Jane, is the daughter of Captain Hook. As Captain James Hook, he shares the same initials as his daughter. CJ's chapter book in the School of Secrets series is called CJ's Treasure Chase. In it, she stows away to Auradon Prep with her father's old treasure map. She sets about searching the school while playing pranks on the AKs. Also, like Freddy, CJ has a sibling that does appear in the movies, and that's Harry Hook, member of Uma's pirate gang in Descendants 2. But did you also know there's another Hook sibling? That's Harriet Hook, who appears in Melissa de la Cruz's novels. In Isle of the Lost, Harriet is a student at Dragon Hall and the captain of her own pirate crew. She dances with Anthony Tremaine at the party at Hell Hall, and she might just have a crush on him. In the novel Rise of the Isle of the Lost, we learn that Harriet is the eldest daughter of Captain Hook, with Harry and CJ as her younger siblings. So the question is, why don't CJ and Harriet appear in the movies? For CJ, it's probably the same reason as Freddie Facilier. She has a lot of baggage in the Descendants world, whereas Harry has none. As for Harriet, perhaps the filmmakers didn't want a prominent female member of Uma's pirate gang. By choosing Harry instead, they could make it more striking that Uma is a female leader of male pirates. If Harriet was there instead, there might have been more of a power struggle between her and Uma to lead the gang. After all, Harriet had her own gang at Dragon Hall. Anthony Tremaine. Speaking of Harriet dancing with Anthony Tremaine, he's another VK that appears in Melissa de la Cruz's novels, but not the movies. He is the son of Anastasia Tremaine from Cinderella, so that makes him cousins with Dizzy and step-cousins with Chad Charming. And it seems like he has quite a lot in common with Chad, despite the fact that one is a VK and one is an AK. Anthony carries himself like he's of noble blood. In fact, he tries to get the inhabitants of the Isle to call him Lord Tremaine. Unsurprisingly, they don't. We've seen in the movies how Chad is pretty arrogant. He considers himself to be more important than his peers, too. We'd love to see how these two cousins would interact if they lived in the same place. Would they be besties over their common ground, or rivals? It looks like we won't get to find out. However, as Anthony isn't slated to be appearing in Descendants 3, so why doesn't he star in the movies? We believe it's because the Tremaine slot has already been filled by Dizzy. She's a likable character and the perfect person to be Evie's honorary little sister. There probably isn't enough airtime for any more members of the same family. Anthony doesn't have a large role in either the Isle of the Lost or the Return of the Isle of the Lost novels, but he is part of a group of VKs that's rotten to the core. He's one of the villain kids that refused to join the Anti-Heroes Club. That's the secret organization of villain kids on the Isle, who were drawn to good more than evil. Next up are a couple more VKs who didn't join the club.
Anita, darling.
Gaston Jr. and Gaston III. The twin sons of Gaston from Beauty and the Beast also refused to join Yen Sid's Anti-Heroes Club. They're called Gaston Jr. and Gaston III. Ginny Gothel and Maddy are the other two who didn't join. More on them later. Again, we're seeing another set of twins in the Descendants world. That could be very important for a theory about one of the main characters in the franchise. Stay tuned for more on that. We haven't seen the Gaston twins in the movies yet, but we have seen their younger brother, Gil. He's a member of Uma's pirate gang and besties with Harry Hook. In fact, in the junior novelization of Descendants 2, Gil and Harry are so close they share a kiss. This happens in the scene when the pirates are celebrating after Ben announces his gift for Uma. The scene was recorded for the movie too, but cut from the final version. But back to Gil's older brothers, what do we know about them? They appear in Melissa de la Cruz's novels. In Isle of the Lost, they help Evie settle into Dragon Hall, and they're often shown fighting each other. In Return to the Isle of the Lost, they get outwitted in a scuffle with Jay. So why didn't they get chosen to appear in the movies? It could be down to their history with Evie in the prequel novel. That book was published a few months before the first movie came out, and maybe the filmmakers didn't have time to explore that dynamic. With Gil, they had a clean slate. Maddy. Maddy is one of the villain kids that features quite prominently in Melissa de la Cruz's novel, Return to the Isle of the Lost. She's the granddaughter of Madame Mim, the villain from The Sword and the Stone. Madame Mim also appears in the novel, taking on the form of a dragon to attack Aradon. We learn that Maddy was best friends with Mal when they were kids. They were even considered twins because they had matching purple hair. This isn't the twin we've been teasing though. You need to keep watching for that. The two besties grew apart as they grew up, after Mal did some mean things to Maddy. Maddy tried to get her revenge on Mal by pretending to be a member of the Anti-Heroes Club, but really she was a spy. Maddy lures Mal away to be attacked by her gang of villain kids, all of whom refused to believe they could be good. Maddy told Mal she hated her all along. With Ginny Gothel's help, she pushed Mal into the water to be eaten by crocodiles. Mal gets saved, but Mad Maddy is still mad at her. So why isn't Mad Maddy in the movies? Well, we reckon it's because Uma got in there instead. After all, Uma and Mal have a similar history. They were friends until Mal did some mean things to Uma, and it's Uma who's seeking revenge in the films. So there isn't really room for yet another former friend of Mal's to be hell-bent on revenge.
I know! I know. I got it. I got the concept.
Ginny Gothel. As we've seen, Mother Gothel's daughter Ginny is good friends with Mad Maddy in the novels, but she didn't make it into the films either. The question is, why? We think Ginny doesn't appear in the movies because Rapunzel doesn't explicitly have any kids in the Descendants movies either, although Rapunzel does have a daughter called Ruby in the Wicked World animation, and another daughter called Anne Selin in the School of Secrets web series about kids at Aradine Prep. Diego DeVille. We've mentioned the Anti-Heroes Club a couple of times in the context of villain kids who refused to join, but Diego DeVille did join the club. He appears in Melissa de la Cruz's novels Isle of the Lost and Return to the Isle of the Lost. Although he only has a small part, he could have a big impact if he were included in the movies. That's because it's thought that Diego might be the son of Cecil B. DeVille. In the 101 Dalmatians animated series, we learned that Cruella DeVille has a brother called Cecil B. DeVille. So if the theory were true, that would make Diego the nephew of Cruella, and therefore he'd be Carlos's cousin. He's described as being tall and skinny, with a black and white mohawk haircut. He also appears in the Descendants video game. Wouldn't it be neat to see what Carlos would be like with a cousin? We're finishing up with another member of the Anti-Heroes Club, and keeping with the family theme, our last villain kid might just be related to one of the main characters. It's finally time for that twin theory we've been teasing throughout this video. Hatee. Hatee appears in the novel Return to the Isle of the Lost. He doesn't have a particularly big role, but we think he definitely could be a major player. That's because he's Hatee's son. And we all know that Hades is starring in Descendants 3 as portrayed by Cheyenne Jackson. And there's plenty of speculation that Hades will turn out to be Mal's father, in which case Mal and Hatee would be related. They might be half-siblings if Maleficent isn't his mom too, but there's the possibility that Mal and Hatee could be long-lost twins. Wouldn't that be amazing? The two do cross paths in the novel. When Mal and her VK gang turn up at an Anti-Heroes Club meeting, Hatee cheers. He tells them he thought their actions in Auradon were really cool, and he tells Mal that the way she changed in Auradon inspired him and the other club members to change their ways. So it's clear that if these two are related, they don't know it. What do you think? Could Hatee and Mal be siblings? So there you have it, our take on why these villain kids aren't in the Descendants movies. Which one would you most like to see in the films? Let us know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to The Things for more videos like this one. We'll see you next time.